Abdul the Impaler here. How you doing? Why am I an atheist? Well, I'll give you a brief rundown. It involves my younger sister Cindy. She passed away 5 years ago, a little over 5 years ago, at the age of 39. She was afflicted with a disease called Tuberous Sclerosis. This particular disease only affects approximately 1 million people globally. So in other words, it's as uncommon as ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease. People afflicted with TS, the symptoms and the damage to the body are milder than others. Depends on when treatment starts and at what age symptoms show up, and it depends on a correct diagnosis as well. Well, when my sister was born in 1965, TS was pretty well unheard of, even in the medical profession. So she was originally diagnosed with cerebral palsy at the age of about 13 or 14 months. And we couldn't look after her because my mother also had a 2-year-old, myself, and a 3-year-old, my other sister, to look after at the same time. And I was a military brat, and at that time military personnel did not make a hell of a lot of money, and as it was, we were barely squeaking by at that time. We didn't own a car, didn't own a house. The house that we rented was quite small. It was a little 2-bedroom, and that was all we could afford. So there was no possible way that my mother could look after my sister. It just couldn't happen. So she went to the Sick Children's Hospital of Eastern Ontario in Kingston, Ontario, where she remained for the next 18 years approximately, until it closed down for safety reasons, because it was an old wood frame building, wood siding, and it just was a fire trap, realistically. So from there she moved to a group home where she was one of only 6 residents, and there was always at least 2 staff members on duty 24/7. So she got really good care there. All the residents got really good care there, as opposed to being in a ward environment in the Sick Children's Hospital that she was accustomed to. Well, eventually this TS and complications from it, eventually it took her life. And it was sad to lose your sister. I knew that day was going to come one day. I just didn't know when the shoe was going to drop. It finally dropped one day out of the blue, and on one hand I was heartbroken. I lost a family member. But on the other hand, I was happy for her because she no longer had to suffer. See, Cindy never took a step in her life. She never spoke a single word in her life. The tumors that grow through your brain with TS can be extremely invasive. It can cause epileptic-like seizures And anybody that knows anything about epilepsy knows that if you have too many severe seizures, it can do severe brain damage to a person, affecting fine motor skills, cognitive abilities, and so on and so forth. Well, because of this particular disorder that my sister has, she suffered seizures, and eventually the damage to her brain was so severe that she could never learn to talk. She didn't have the fine motor skills required to use her arms and legs. She could see, she could hear. She felt sadness, she felt joy, she felt pain. She went through the gamut of emotions that the rest of us so-called normal, healthy human beings go through. But she was stuck in a bed her entire life, wearing a diaper. Now I ask you, if there is a God out there that is supposedly so loving, so forgiving, so wonderful, why in the fuck did he do this to my little sister? Or she, whatever. Why? She did absolutely nothing to nobody. Not once in her life did she speak a cross word to anybody. Not once in her life did she strike anybody. Not once did she steal. Did she lie? Did she cheat? Did she commit an adultery? Did she bear false witness? Did she do anything? Did she commit a single so-called sin? No. So you tell me why she suffered for 39 fucking years. You tell me why my parents had to go through 39 fucking years of wondering when their child was going to die. You tell me why my sister and I had to go through our entire childhood knowing that we had a little sister, but we could never ever play with her. You tell me how fair of a fucking God that is. I'd like to meet your God, and I'd kick him in the fucking nuts. Your God is a worthless piece of shit. Your God does nothing. Your God is nothing but a fucking delusion. That is why I am an atheist.